Hello, everyone. Welcome to WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. And you guys are listening to Dad's Going Solo, Going Bold. And I am Cece Shatz, a Doyenne of relationship building. I'm a divorce, dating, and a life coach. And we are waiting for our host, our other co host, Adam Ford, who's a men's coach. And he's having trouble with his computer. So we're not sure if he's going to join us. Oh, I think he's coming now. Here he is. Hey, Adam.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Hey, we're doing okay. How are you doing?
Doing well.
Good. So I've made the introduction that we are Dad's Going Solo, Going Bold, and that you're a men's coach, and you're Adam Ford, and you're a single dad. So we haven't done the show in a while, so it's nice to see you.
It's good to see you.
Yeah.
Trying to get my headphones to connect, but they're not really wanting to cooperate right now. Oh wait.
Yeah. Sometimes technology can be a pain.
Yeah, there's
Mhm. So we'll bear with you. But what we're going to talk about, I'll just keep talking, and then when you think you're okay, then chime in.
perfect.
So what we're going to be talking about is balancing parenting and the rest of your life, and that kind of seemed quite daunting, doesn't it? The rest of your life, because once you have a child, it goes for the rest of your life, right?
Yes.
Can you hear me okay now?
I can still hear you,
Oh,
but is there feedback at all?
no, you sound
Oh,
great.
perfect. Then I'm happy.
Okay.
Um yeah,
Mhm.
we're good.
All right, so
Yeah.
let's talk about that. I mean, I know you're a single dad, you work, you've got a fiance, you got a lot of stuff going on. And so how do you balance it? And then we'll talk about suggestions for people.
Yeah, absolutely. So balancing parenting and work and social, like obviously that's something that we all really want to try and find a happy medium for, but that's very, very difficult to do. Um, Being a parent, in my opinion, always comes first. It has to come first. Your family, being a parent comes first. Um, Work and social especially, when you first become a parent, that kind of goes by the wayside for a little bit. You have to slowly find how to balance that again when the time is appropriate. But you know, um, the biggest thing is I always make sure that my son knows he's a priority. That he is, if he ever needed anything or anything like that, I would drop what I'm doing and instantly be there, hands down. He has to know that because once he knows that and he feels comfortable and safe, that's when he started to kind of let go, for lack of a better term, where I could, you know, he could be playing and I could be doing this, or like now I'm doing the show and he is playing. He is not around right now. So um that is that was probably the hardest part, was trying to balance work and my son and social life. So social life was the first thing gone. It just wasn't there. And but work is something we all have to do. We all have to go to work. We all have to be able to um, provide for our family. So as my son got older and wanted me to stay home more, and be like, why do you have to go to work? No, just don't go. Like, he still to this day says that to me, but um, I had to eventually sit down and explain to him, this is what work is and this is why it's a priority. I may not always want to go there. I may not always want to be gone, but for our well-being and to help our family, I have to. So basically just had a conversation with him like he was an actual adult. Like, hey, this is what is going on. This is what you need to understand. This is why I cannot be there all the time or be home all the time. Um, that that is a hard conversation to have because kids don't understand. They don't get it. They don't
Right.
understand that
But
you
I
have to
think it's
do that.
important that you speak to them, in a matter of
Absolutely.
fact, adult way. I mean, you have to gauge your conversation according to his age, but also you got to be straight up about certain things, and
Absolutely. You have to be
that's
honest.
the way it is. And if they feel like that there's a wiggle room in there, they'll try
Exactly.
to take it, right. So you got to
Exactly.
say, sorry, Charlie, this is the way it is. Yeah.
Exactly. And one of the things that was hard for me too was like I had to reassure him that like it wasn't because he was bothering me that I was going to work because I
Hmm.
work a lot. And he was like, "Well, you're not you're going to work cuz you don't want to hang out with me?" So I had to reassure him that
Hmm.
he is in no way not he is not the reason why I don't want, you know, I would much rather hang out with my son than go to work, trust me. But um we have to work when need be, when we have to. We have to be gone when we have to. So making sure that the child understands makes makes the start of balancing everything so much easier.
Right.
So much easier. Once they understand, they're like, okay, and they can, go off and do their own thing, or they go and they understand and don't throw a giant fit, or whatever the case may be. They it starts to get easier from there. And one thing that like really helped me to be able to like come home from work and focus on him. You have to leave work at work.
Hmm.
You can't bring. I mean, working from home obviously is a thing, yes, but you can't bring your work home and that's all you do. You know what I mean? Because then at that point, you're not parenting. You're not spending time with the kid. You're not. Children have a very big need to have attention. They need attention. And
Hmm.
if we go to work, then bring our work home, then we're not we're showing them that work it makes it look like work is more important, which work is an important thing, but I'm sure there's not any parent that's going to say work is more important than their child.
Right. I guess
So
it's really trying to make sure you have a clear understanding of your priorities, right? You know, I think for
exactly.
me, the hard thing for me on balancing the parenting was, you have your child all the time. You have your son
Mm,
all the time. Where I was, had to go back and forth, and so I really had like, I used to call it hairy withdrawals.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
so I really struggled, and I mean, I struggled not only, and I think a lot of dads go through this, but I struggled because my ex kept him. We decided he was first with me, and then we decided for him to go to private school that he would live with my ex, and so I felt it was best for him, to have that opportunity,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
but it was the hardest thing I think I've ever done in my life, to because I'd lived through a lot of that with my going back and forth with my older children, swore I
Yeah,
would never do it again, and then with Harry, it was very I really struggled
yeah,
tremendously. So I wonder at times, I think he struggled too, but I just wonder if I went through more of it than he did, because he was busy, occupied with his everyday life, right? He had
absolutely.
school, he had activities, he had different things like that. I
But you're
had,
still with mom, like
and I
like
had an emptiness. I had an emptiness.
exactly.
Yeah. And that was hard. So, I mean, if we're going to talk about, I think getting real with dads, I mean, they experience this tremendously. And
Yes,
it's a real feeling, it's a real pain, and it's really hard to go. So now how do we get through it, right? We occupy
absolutely.
our time, we
Yeah,
devote ourselves to work, and
yes.
hopefully we make some really great friends along the way that supports us.
yeah, I mean, I mean, without my family and my friends, I wouldn't have been able to do anything
Yeah.
that I have accomplished as a parent at work, having a social life. I wouldn't have been able to do that. And there was a time where I didn't have my son all the time, so having those withdrawals
Hmm.
from being a parent was very difficult,
Hmm.
very hard to really to have him for so long, and then boom, one day he's just not there for this amount of time, and it's hard. So I mean, being able to try and have a social life at that point, or go to work or whatever, it's difficult because that feeling is depressing.
Oh,
You
yeah.
don't want to do anything. You
Mhm.
don't want to get out of bed. You don't. It is very difficult. It's hard. So it's you have to find something to preoccupy your mind,
Mhm.
because if you don't find something, that is going to be all you think about, is when is the next time I'm, and then the minutes then turn into, wow, this feels like it's only been 5 minutes. Well, it feels like it's been 5 years. Like, the time seems longer. So you have to find something to preoccupy your time, like you were saying.
Well,
um
what I did is at the time, I joined a divorce group, which I now run. And
mhm.
um, we need to kick it in and do a little bit more with it because it seems like since COVID, it's really tanked. But it helped me get through because when I went to the meetings or whatever, I met other people that were going through the same thing I was going through, and
Yeah,
they were struggling not only through their divorce, through that transition of trying to be single, and what you do, that kind of thing. The other thing I joined was, and if you guys know, you can go on Meetup. It's called meetup.com, and then
hmm,
we have our Dad's Going Solo now. If you want to join that website, it's
yes,
called dadsgoingsolo.com. But there's groups within that you can join, and that's helpful. But a parents group was a good group, because not only did we get together when we had the kids, because that was another thing. Like, what do I do now when I have him? Because I want to, I'm not a guy,
that
so
was my next point. That was my next
doing
point.
the
Yeah,
guy stuff. So yeah, so I joined that. But then we also got together when we didn't have the kids because
yeah.
we knew how hard it was to get through. You
Well,
know.
and you had other people who were experiencing the exact same thing. You had, or at least have had the experience of that.
Right.
Whereas a lot of people don't understand if they don't have kids.
Mhm.
Like a lot of my friends they didn't have kids when I had my kid. So it they're like, oh yeah, well he's with his mom, so like let's go do. It's like, you don't. No, I don't want to. I just because he's not here does not mean I don't miss him or I don't think about him. He is still my child, and until you have a kid, you never understand that. You
Mhm.
never understand those those feelings, and that emptiness that you feel.
Mhm.
You know.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because I tell my kids, my older kids, that now when they're raising their children, and we talk about being, grandparent and or whatever, and I often say, you don't really know how it feels until it starts happening to you, when the phone calls
Absolutely.
stop coming, and you want them to live their life, you want them to be independent, you want them to grow, but when the shift starts happening, it's hard because you're a parent for life, you
Well,
know?
yeah, and I mean, you feel like that. You feel that, like, yes, I want you to be independent. I want you to take care of yourself. Do those things, but then again, you also want to still be needed by them.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? You still want to be the one that they come to do. Hey, can you help me with this? Or hey, I want to do this with you. Like, you still want to be that person, but I mean, understanding that you have to let them be is difficult. My
Yeah,
mom went through that
very.
with me. Is when she realized, like, oh, I'm a growing boy or a man, and I'm gonna do things on my own or with my friends or whatever. It was hard for her because she always did everything with me. So
Mm.
it's it's funny me now being a dad and like my son, he's only 5, but him becoming more independent and like things he used to want to do with me, he doesn't really want to do anymore. Now I know what my mom felt, and I'm like, I feel bad. Like now I feel bad for being like, oh, you'll get over it. Like,
Oh, I know. And they
hate.
drop me off around the corner, so
Exactly.
people
Yeah,
don't
right.
see. What do you mean they don't want to see me? They don't want to see me, and then it's like, oh, don't give me a kiss. Don't
Yeah.
kiss me.
Don't hug me. Don't hold my hand. Look, stop.
Yeah.
Okay. Like,
I know.
yeah.
But then when they get older, it kind of reverts back again a little bit, so
Well, yeah, because then they want to come home and they're like, oh, I
yeah.
got my mom, I like mess with dad and miss my parents. Like, yeah, where was this 5 years ago, huh?
I know, really, yeah. And then you get the call when there's trouble, which is
Yep.
good because we want to hear from them.
Yes. Yeah.
Get that. But
That's
it is hard balancing. Then start to balance. When I started, then start dating. Because I really do feel there's so many people that feel like they shouldn't date when they're single with their children. They should wait till their children grow up. But here's the reality: life continues, right? Life goes on, and if we can show them that we're as responsible as we can be. I know there are moments in my life I questioned my own being responsible, but I mean
oh, yeah,
there are
100%.
things,
Me too.
things like that. But we got to show them that life goes on, and we've got to live it the best we can, as
Absolutely.
we move forward, and we just take the hard knocks as they come, and it's really how we deal with the difficulties in life, that
Yeah.
I think is important. So anyone out there that's thinking about, should they date? Should they? I say yes. Continue with your life. Show your children that you can continue with your life in a very positive way. And
Absolutely.
difficulties that arise, you'll deal with them together.
Yeah. I didn't date for 3 years.
Hmm.
3 years. I didn't date. Because I didn't know if I should when it was just me and him.
Hmm.
Kind of like exactly what you were saying. Like, I don't. Maybe I should just wait till he's a little bit older and he can understand. Like, and then the first relationship that I had after when I started dating, the first relationship, I'm now engaged to that person. But it I think mine was more trusting who I brought around my kid.
Hmm.
And obviously you have to make that call. And I wasn't I think it's more because I wasn't really looking for anybody and I really wasn't trying to date.
Hmm.
But it took me a while to even introduce Demarius to Jacqueline. It took me a minute because I wanted to make sure that this is somebody that I really cared about and cared enough about to bring into my son's life. So absolutely date, but watch and make sure you're bringing the right people into your family. Even if it doesn't work out in the end, there are still people who are, really good friends after they date and they know the whole family and whatnot, and that's great. So I guess mine was more just I didn't trust a lot. I didn't really trust anybody at that point in my life, and I wasn't I wasn't willing to bring anybody around my son until I fully trusted them.
Hmm.
And I think that was honestly probably more detrimental than anything else. Because you should feel like you have having a child being single should not feel like you have the plague. Like, you should be able to still go out and date and do and have a social life and or whatnot, and you should not feel like, oh, I have a kid now, so I can't date anybody. That's not how it should be, and that is not also not a that is not a idea you want to put into your kids' head as well as they grow up. Like, this is happening, so I shouldn't do this. Like, no, that's not. You
Right. And again, it's teaching them that life goes on, and
absolutely,
also that you're valued because you have a life as equally as they have one.
exactly.
They have friends and a social life and activities or whatever, and you also need to have all of those things. And but it is good to step back and heal, and you did
Hmm.
that. You
Yes,
were able to do that and move forward. And I've had relationships that were a little bit longer term but didn't work out for
yeah,
one reason or another. Not necessarily that it had anything to do with my children. It really didn't. It had to
hmm,
do with just progressing in life, and I think really my age. I
yeah,
mean, as I'm going forward, so trying to determine what it is I truly want in my
yeah,
life,
absolutely.
and that kind of thing. And I think that's good for them to see. I mean, especially now that my kids are older and stuff, I think it's important that they see that that you can make good, healthy relationships, and they may not be lasting forever, but they're still
Absolutely.
uh, good quality relationships. So yeah.
Well, and every kid deserves, I mean, single or not, single or if the parents are together, every kid deserves to see their parents loved by one another, or
Mhm,
like
mhm,
the Dee deserved to see how much I love Jacqueline and how much Jacqueline loves me, and he can see that reciprocated between each other.
mhm,
So every kid deserves to view a healthy relationship as they're growing up,
mhm.
so they know
Well,
how to navigate their relationships as they grow up, and
yeah, absolutely,
whether
and to be
that
open, right,
yeah,
and to be open. I mean, the
exactly,
children
and
need to
whether
be
that's a relationship that lasts or it's a
open.
relationship that doesn't last,
Mhm,
it it's good to see, you know
mhm,
how to be. It shows you how to be civil, how to be open, how to be trusting, how to be loving, how to it shows you those morals and examples, you know what I mean,
mhm,
so that they don't grow up seeing that, oh, nobody's going to love me because I'm alone, you know what I mean. That's not something that we need to instill into children. You know what I mean.
right. Well, it also understands that that people are sometimes in your life for a season, and,
Exactly.
and that's okay. That's okay. It's okay for that to happen. It's
Absolutely.
really how you feel and how you treat the other party, and what number one, what you're giving and what they're giving to you, and so it's that kind of thing. Oh, we have a
Every
comment.
everybody is put in
Oh,
your
here we got
life.
a comment. Yay. Jill says, yes, I did not date, but you have to also remember yourself too. So when the kids are gone, you are not alone. Yep, absolutely, Jill. You are so right on.
That is my mother.
Okay.
um,
Okay.
so that is my mom, and yes, she did not date really at all when I was younger, when I was a kid.
Mhm,
Um,
mhm,
and I think I don't know if she necessarily regrets not dating, but I think she regrets not doing more as I got older.
mhm,
Um, because it's hard to always be alone, especially as you do age. I mean, there's a part of us in every person that wants to be alone at some point in their life. You know what I mean? But
mhm.
not completely alone and with nobody. And I think she's referring to more of a uh, to more of a, now that I'm gone,
Mhm.
she doesn't, now she's trying to navigate of where how she wants to live her life, or
Mhm.
how, and she feels like she should have had uh a better grip on that by starting it out sooner than
Right.
she has. You know what I mean? So yeah,
Yeah,
no,
no, I agree. And and I thought about that myself. I thought when we had gotten divorced, I would keep my son and do the same thing. But then when it turned, and we thought it was best for him to go back with my ex and go to private school, and money would be no object, and he would be able to have what he needed, and there would be no struggles. Then I thought, okay, so now I've got to what do I do? Do I just sit here, or do I, you know, figure out how to live a life, And then I drove my daughter crazy for a while.
Well,
And
I mean, yeah.
because I wanted to be with her every weekend. I thought
Cece,
it was okay with her for a while.
you haven't
She was
done
like,
an
okay,
amazing
no,
job.
get a life, mom, get a life. Then
You
my
have
life
done an amazing job.
full. It started getting. So I do feel that people should figure it out and start establishing and building a life of their own, because
100%.
our kids really need to see that. They need to see the independence. And now here I'm doing this, this show. I'm doing, all these shows. The
I was
studio.
gonna say, Cece, you have built this empire that is
I don't know.
rising. Oh no, it's gonna be. We're taking it to the top.
Yeah.
Me, you, Chris, we're taking it to the top. But listen, you have built something that is beautiful because it helps other people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just even guys, if you have not gone on to the goingsolonetwork.com and seen the different shows that Cece's involved in, seriously, because the amount of people that she helps and the advice that she gives in literally every aspect of life, guys. Like, there are several different aspects of life. I watched one the other day that was about buying a house because I'm trying to buy my first house, and I literally got a bunch of different pointers on what to do buying my first house. Like, she helps do those shows, guys. Like, she has taken, that time that she had and built it so she can help other people. And that's amazing. So Cece, I think you did an outstanding job with who you are and what your life has become.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah, I just realized that if I'm going through this difficult time, there's other people that are going
absolutely.
through it, and probably even worse than I am, you know. And so, I'm a little older in my life. I was, a little bit more set, and gone through a few knocks and stuff. But some of that, I kept thinking, some of the younger families, they have several kids, and money is just really tight, and they're having all these difficult times, and so yeah, I thought it would be best. And then I started thinking about the dads and how difficult it is for dads, because
Yeah,
I kind of was in a dad spot, right? Everything that
absolutely.
happened to me was like a dad would go through, right?
Exactly.
And so I kind of got it. I got what they went through. But the only thing is different for the guys is that women will show their emotions. We will talk about our feelings. And you guys just don't, because for some reason you think, or not think, but that it's kind of embedded as you grow up, that gut it up and whatever, and don't do that.
It's
And
the stigma of that men don't, men suck it up and move on, or men
yeah.
roll with the punches and you don't cry about it. And like,
Mhm,
and first of all, on that point, like, there,
mhm,
no,
mhm,
you, every person has every ability uh to feel their feelings. I don't
mhm,
care if you're man, woman, child, it doesn't matter. You have every ability to feel your feelings. And women, yes, women have were viewed as the ones that, you know, were more sad about it and more upset, but it's not. It's human feelings. It's human.
mhm,
It's just as bad for the dads as it is for the for the moms. Just like
mhm.
any situation that we talk about on this show is not genderized. It's
Right.
called dads going solo, yes, but single moms can go through this too. I mean, you are an example of that.
Mhm.
You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah.
So like, I this is dad's going solo 100%.
Mhm,
However,
mhm,
that is not disrespectful to mothers. That is not disrespectful to any other person that really has gone through this. Like, it's a difficult thing, and what Cece and I have been trying to build with this is you have a place you can go. You
mhm,
have people who understand, and our shows are to help with pointers and tips and topics about what you're going through so that you can get through it.
mhm,
And especially like this one, the one that we're on now, the balancing, balancing parenting, work, and social. I mean, social life alone, like you have to find the appropriate times to have your social life. So yeah, your kid kind of runs your social life, but it's okay to be upset about that. It's okay to say that it's hard. It's okay for men to say that it's hard. It's okay for women to say that it's hard. It's okay. But it's something that's difficult for everybody.
Mhm.
And for dads specifically, because we don't come right out and say, "Oh, this is hard and I have these feelings," it's harder to find one another who feel the same way. You know what I mean?
Right. And
And
that's why it's important to come together. That's why we did
exactly.
the website. It's important to come together like-minded people coming together. So it definitely is. And, again, it's, sharing your emotions, sharing your feelings with your children is important because for them to see that even though you're strong, you still have feelings,
Oh,
and it
absolutely.
helps your kids to grow and also develop, in their own way. So that's very, very true. I had come across that, Adam, some like a list of things that, as they move forward and the balancing. And one thing that I saw was, set your priorities.
Yes.
So as you're moving through, figure out what truly is important and where you need to really focus your time and energy, right?
Yes. Yes. Being able to set a list of priorities, which obviously I've already said parenting is a top priority, but after that, what are your where do you focus, and where do you focus those things to make you happy, but also to make your child or whoever else is in the family with you happy.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
Making a list and being able to set the priorities so that you know exactly where to give the right amount of attention
Mm-hmm.
makes it 100% easier, because then you really have it. You have a quote unquote plan as to going forward of how you're going to balance your life.
Right. And that
You
was
know
the
what I mean?
next thing on the list was make a plan.
Mm-hmm.
Make a plan and do things in advance, so you can do things in advance. So I used to have this thing in my house. I'd have a calendar on the refrigerator, right? And I'd
Mm-hmm.
say, if you don't write it on the calendar, we're not doing it. You got
Yeah,
to
absolutely.
put it on the calendar. So if you've got a baseball game or you've got something like that, you can tell me, I can write it on it or whatever, but it's got to be on. And if that day comes up and it's not on there, guess what? You don't get to do it because it
Exactly.
needed to be on the calendar.
Yeah.
And so they missed a couple of those things. They make sure it's on the calendar.
No,
So,
yeah. We have a calendar, a whiteboard calendar that we have
mhm,
here that we, as he gets older and he has more friends and wants to go do more things,
mhm.
um, we have to write everything down, because if not, we will miss something. Like it,
Right.
and that calendar is starting to fill up every month that we come to. That calendar
Mhm.
keeps getting more full with things that D wants to go do and things that he wants to, go play with this person, go have a sleep over here. It's like, yeah, it's that is probably the best way, is to make a plan on how you expect to even start to balance your life. How do you where do you want to be? I think for me it was setting goals. Was a big one for me, because where did I want to be at this time in 6 months?
Mhm.
Um, where do I want to be in 2 months with this part of my life?
Right.
And that's how I think setting the goals and then prioritizing those goals
Mhm.
built the plan for me.
Yeah.
So I think that was probably the best. That's if I have a tip that I could give, I believe setting goals, and then CC brought up making prioritizing and making a plan. Those three things, if you can do that around parenting, you can do it. You can do anything.
Yeah. And that's important to include your kids on that because then they learn a lot of things when you do that. They learn themselves, they learn they learn planning, right? They learn
Yes.
organizing and, doing various things and, putting it on the calendar and planning things. And then if you're doing goal setting, you know, you can have your own personal goal setting, but you can have family type of goal setting. Do we want to go on a vacation? How much do we have to save? Let's do these various
Exactly.
different things. Also, it said here, like, so negotiate flex hours and part-time hours if possible.
Hmm.
And so, not everything has to be, it could just be we're going to have a day to relax. We're going to have a day
Exactly.
to just take it easy and do nothing. There's like a couple more I'll just share is that
Yeah.
find a number two or a number three person. You like have an extra person, a go-to person to help you with difficulties, when you have a scheduling problem, you got to work
Yes.
late, you got to do something, have a backup person, someone that can pick up the children, run them to activities. And then if they
Yes.
can't do it, you got a backup person. Have one or two or three of those. Share with another family. I used to do this.
Hmm.
Share with another family. My girlfriends, we would do it and share with, like, I would take her kids and do stuff with them, and then she would take my kids and do things. So
Absolutely.
yeah, so we kind of we kind of like a team, that kind of thing. And so that was always a good thing.
Yeah. I have a couple points here that I wrote down for this show.
Mhm.
Um, one thing that I started doing, um, and this is when Dee was younger, but I still wanted to have my social life and see my friends and whatnot. So
Mhm.
I would do stuff that my son could be a part of. You
Mhm.
know, we went and, instead of going to the bar to watch a game, we went to a restaurant where we could all go sit and watch the game. Or, and I would include my child whenever it was appropriate, basically,
Mhm.
and have him around. But that being said, I think another big point that I wanted to make tonight was that
Mhm.
you deserve, as adults, we deserve our own time as well.
Mhm.
Just because we have a kid doesn't mean we don't deserve to have our own time. And you have to carve out time for yourself. And I have been able to learn how to do that daily. And what I mean by that is my son's bedtime. He goes to bed. The hour after he goes to bed, before I go to bed, I carve out for myself or for me and Jacqueline. Whether we want to watch a show, whether we have things we need to discuss, whether we want to, just lay there and do nothing. Like, we have carved that time out while he is asleep before we go to bed to come together as, you know, fiancés or as people who run the family to either figure out what next steps are for, bills or for, what we want to do this weekend, camping with those two. We have carved out that time nightly to sit down and be able to just collect ourselves,
Mhm.
um, and reflect on the day and have that structure. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because if you don't, you will go insane. If you do not put some time for yourself, you will be screaming Coco Melon lyrics for at work for no reason. Because listen, I was there. I learned that Barney song. I used to recite that at work because work was the only time that I got to myself, and I would worry about my son while I was at work. So going through my head is all these things that could go wrong, and then Barney is the background track playing behind it. And but one thing that I've done is I like to pick one day out of the month that I can go with friends to a concert or go golfing, go to dinner, or whatever, and have that one day out of the month be that's how I started finding my social time. Was I was able to, you know, I had time to plan that day, time to plan to get the sitter, time to plan to, who's going to pick up what or whatever the case may be. And that way it became much more easier to actually have a social life than it would to just scramble to try and put together plans and then plans fell through. So then we have to cancel going.
Mhm.
And then after a while, that gets hearing that as an excuse gets old. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
Mhm.
having the ability to plan out what my one night a month was going to be is how I really started to build having a social life again. But never think that you're wrong for wanting to have a social life or a break.
Absolutely.
Every parent, male, female, indifferent, everybody who is a parent deserves to have some kind of break in their life,
Mhm.
uh, some kind of adult time. So you're not talking to people like this all the time when you're trying to explain something to a perfectly capable, understanding adult. Um, I think the biggest thing is a lot of dads that I know get down on themselves of the time, because of not being able to carve out the time and having a balance. That they start to really resent themselves. And if I could say one thing is the one thing that you cannot do, especially in front of your child, is you cannot not love yourself.
Mhm.
You have to teach your child how to love themselves, because that is going to be important as they grow up. And if they
Right.
see if
Right.
they see you over here being upset and disappointed in yourself and not loving yourself, they're going to attach to that energy at some point.
Right, exactly. In closing, I'll say I think it's important to build like rituals that you do, and like
Yes.
you pointed that out very eloquently by saying you needed your time, so once a month you do that, and so in order to create a balance for your children, you could do the same thing. Like this is Dad's time. Okay, this is my 1 month, and then now we'll have your time,
Yes.
so this
Exactly.
is your time. And so, you know, whatever the child's name is, you could say we're going to have that, and that's important. So they start understanding that there's rituals that you do each
Hmm.
time. And it's almost like how you have a holiday, certain things that you do. The same thing when you start to go to school in the morning. There's certain things that you do, and when you start building your life like that, where you have and you have some flexibility in it. But when you have certain things that you do at certain times, they know that, and they
Absolutely.
understand it, and they become used to it, and it becomes safe for them. And they like kids like structure, and they like routine. And so even though they say they don't, they do. And
Yeah.
so and the more you can do that for them, the easier your life will be to be able to balance parenting in your own personal life. So but anyhow, I think the show went very well. Thanks, Adam.
Absolutely. Yeah. Wanted to say going forward, I have kind of mapped out on the next couple episodes.
Okay.
And For anybody, especially right now with the world climate the way it is and everything going on in the world, uh, a lot of dads that I've spoken to here in Portland, but also I talk to different dads, in different. I'm part of different groups and talk to them in
Mhm.
different states and stuff. And one thing that I've noticed as of late is the feeling of helplessness. And I'm not sure why that has come through in a lot of the groups that I've talked with or I talk to, but um, helplessness or the feeling of being lost.
Mhm.
Um, and I don't know if that has to do with because they don't know what to do now that they're a new parent and they don't know how to live their own life with a
Mhm.
kid, or what it is. But kind of touch on that. The next show I kind of want to touch on feeling helpless and helplessness or lost,
Mhm.
um, and kind of in that mental state,
Mhm.
and how it affects you and your child.
Mhm.
I kind of wanted to go to talk on that this
Okay.
next show, and then after that, I want to talk about something that I have. Uh, in a couple episodes, I want to talk about something that I have recently had a lot of personal encounters with, which is dealing with tantrums and fits.
Oh, fun,
So
fun.
I want to kind of give people my advice and what I've gone through recently, and how I've handled those situations. So
Yeah.
I think we have a pretty good fun lineup coming up of shows. And I think I have a musical artist who is a father. He is a new father
Oh, neat.
to he is a new father to a beautiful baby boy named Onyx, and he is Onyx was born last month, 2 months ago. But he also has I believe she's in junior high. He has a middle schooler as well. And he still does music, and that is his career. And I wanted to get him on to kind of pick his brain of how difficult it was with the music scene being very last minute a lot of the times, or very late into the nights or whatnot. How he's dealt with that with being a parent as well. So my buddy Lord Lawrence might come on and be a part of that. Be a part of one of our shows coming up pretty soon too.
Yeah, that sounds great. Well, we're going to have to close this one though, unfortunately.
Fantastic.
But it was great. So everyone, we do have a Facebook page.
Yes.
Dad's Going Solo on Facebook, so you can join us on Facebook. Adam is there too, and then we have the website dadsgoingsolo.com.
Yes, and I keep posting both of those on my Instagram. I've posted them on my Twitter. I've posted them on my Facebook and just reshared Dad's Going Solo's page a bunch of times. So please go hit that like button, hit that comment button on the videos that Cece posts on the Dad's Going Solo. She'll post the episodes if you've missed it. So hit the comments, and myself, Cece, somebody will get back to you in those comments, and we'll be able to answer your questions if you have any.
Yeah, definitely. We definitely want to be able to help you. So, but we've got to close it now.
Yes.
And catch us on the Roku channel. We're over 100,000 listeners already. We haven't been up very long.
Fantastic, so guys. We are on Roku. Please go run that up. Please, that'd be great.
All you do is go into the streaming and then search for the streaming and just search Going Bold TV and Going Solo TV. So those are the two.
That's all you do, guys. And we will be able to see you. Well, we're doing Thursdays now.
Yeah, Thursdays. We're doing
Thursdays from now on.
Yeah.
And I will post an update coming up pretty soon. We'll talk with Cece whether it's going to be bi-weekly or weekly. But we will let you know. But Thursdays at 9. What is it? 9 o'clock.
9 Eastern time.
9 Eastern. 6.
No, it's 9. It starts at 9 Eastern time, my time, and then I don't know.
9 Eastern, 6 Pacific. So, all right.
All right.
Thank you, Cece. It was been a pleasure, and thank you guys for tuning in.
Bye. Thank you for tuning in.
Bye, guys.
Bye.